Hey there, welcome to the UkeStuff channel and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of this instrument. This is the Kala Learn to Play Soprano Ukulele. It's really intended for beginners to help them begin their process. So we're going to do this video. First of all, we'll look at some subjective categories that we look at with all ukuleles. Then we'll talk about the specifications. Then I'll give it a summary and a UkeGuide rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. If you want, you can skip ahead to parts of this video that interest you because there are chapters on this video, or you can find the summary document on my website at ukestuff.info. If you want to support the work here at this channel, there are 3 things you can do. First of all, you can like the video. Second, you can subscribe to the channel. And third, you can always buy me a cup of coffee to say thank you for making this content at buymeacoffee.com/ukestuff. All right, let's begin with the subjective categories of this instrument. First of all, cost. They are $75 and they come with a drawstring bag and some booklets and things. So that is the going price of this package. Now that said, the value is actually lower than what you're paying for because you can find equivalent instruments that don't have the problems of this one, and we'll talk about that in a second, for less money, and that's the point. So Kala does really set the price because they are the world's largest distributor of ukulele. So they really do set the price of what is the price of a normal ukulele. So generally at best the Kala is right where the price meets the value, but in this case the price exceeds the value of the instrument. Now in terms of build quality, for me this gets a very low score for 2 reasons. It is cleanly built on the outside. I mean, there's no flaws on that on the outside at all. But there are 2 things that bother me about it. First of all, Kala a few years ago decided with its entry-level ukuleles to remove the kerfing on the inside. And that still doesn't quite sit right with me. Maybe studies show that they didn't need it, but there's some part of that that just doesn't seem right. It seems like a cost-cutting maneuver that I don't like. And then the other thing is that there's a buzz here. Now, the action on this instrument is incredibly low. So I give Kala some credit for addressing the issue that many of their ukuleles used to sell with action that's way too high. Well, now it's gone too far the other way. And second string, no buzz, play the first fret, and you basically have a banjo-lele on your hands. And that's not great. Now, this is one of my students' ukuleles that they brought in. They didn't ask about it before they bought it and just brought it in. I'm going to be trying to raise the saddle tonight or see if I have another saddle that's taller to see if I can get rid of that buzz for them. You can say that you can raise that saddle, and that's true, but this is a beginner's instrument. This is being sold to people learning how to play, learn to play. This instrument has to be set up right, and it needs to be without buzzes for beginners. It's non-negotiable. And that is where I most struggle with this instrument. So in build quality, it gets a very low score for me for that, even though on the outside, it's really well put together. And there's really nothing wrong with the inside. Although, again, I do feel like Kala has cheapened its process on these entry-level instruments by removing the kerfing. All right, let's take a look at the inside of the ukulele with an endoscope. I call it the internal Uke Cam. Here we go. Looking down, very low quality laminate on the sides of the ukulele. You can see that the laminate on the top and the bottom are actually much higher quality. And as we look back, you can see that there is a bridge plate, there is a tail block, which is nice, and there is a strap button on the ukulele as well. And it's cleanly built. There's not a lot of glue mess, but there's no kerfing on the ukulele. All right, let's take a look at the upper bout. All right, looking at the upper bout of the ukulele, there's not a whole lot to see here without any kerfing. You can see a little bit of glue on that neck block there, but again, lower quality laminate on the sides of the ukulele, higher quality laminate on the top and the back of the ukulele, so the soundboard and the back. And that's our quick look at the Kala Learn to Play Soprano Ukulele. We've already talked about appearance, but appearance is plain, but I think attractive. It has that sort of modern mahogany rather than really dark mahogany that you see on like antique or heritage instruments, so that's attractive. The one thing that really does stand out, though, is the really clear joint on the neck. They could have hidden that, I think, a little better or tried to find a darker stain or something because, I mean, you can also see the joint at the heel there, but that one is really, really evident. Now, granted, that's in your hand most of the time, so maybe you don't think about it, but it would have been nice if that would be a little less clear there as well. It does have a etched rosette that's very faint. It's not offensive. It doesn't bother me. It looks nice. The outside of this does look attractive. So it's attractive, but again, also very plain. In terms of availability, they're available all over, any Cala dealer, also Amazon, other places, so you can find them. In terms of playability, there are some issues here. It's a 35 millimeter nut, almost spot on, but the string spacing is even more narrow than usual. So it's really a tighter playing experience, and then the action is so low that again that you're getting buzzing on it. It's that thick C-shaped neck that Calas generally have. That's all part of it too. But with that narrow string spacing, with the thick neck, and with the buzz in particular, I just don't want to play it. I mean, that's where it's at. I recently reviewed the Close tenor hybrid ukulele, and that ukulele was so nice that I wanted to keep playing. I wanted to pull out things and practice. This makes me want to run away. So that's problematic, and as a result, the playability has a lower score than usual. Now, in terms of sound quality, it's not a bad sound quality. It's a very general sound quality, shall we say. So, with all sincerity, it's not bad. It's got decent volume. It's just playing the open strings where there's no buzz. There's some sustain. There's some overtones, but it's mainly that low range that just sustains on it. And it's got sort of a boxy laminate tone. It's not offensive. It's not bad, but it's also not great either. A Kawaya, it is not. So, Kawaya laminates are wonderful. This is not wonderful. It's passable until you play the second string first fret. Not overly punchy, okay volume. The tone is darker than it's bright. I would try different strings. So if this was mine, first of all, I'd have to solve that buzz issue, which is not anywhere else on the ukulele, by the way. So it's not something vibrating on the headstock or anything like that. It's purely with the action being too low, and we'll get to that when we get to specifications of the instrument. We always talk about sound quality by using the app Tonal Energy Tuner on my iPad, where you can see the Harmonic Energy series as I play the C chord. So here we go. So as I play that, I'm hearing more sustain than Tonal Energy Tuner is picking up. I'm also not hearing as much high end as Tonal Energy Tuner is picking up. So both those things are true. It's always just fun to see what it's doing with the sound spectrum, but you can see that for sure that middle and low register also does sustain with a couple of those frequencies on the higher end. All right, now that we've talked about all the subjective categories, let's get into the specifications of the instrument. It is a soprano ukulele with a scale length of 13.5 inches. It has 12 frets with 12 to the body, pretty standard for sopranos, with side marker dots, which is nice. It is a double bout traditional ukulele with a soundboard and back and sides that are all made of laminate mahogany. The fretboard appears to be rosewood. If you look online, it says walnut, but this does not look like walnut, although it could be walnut dyed darker. And the bridge is also of the same material, which I think is also rosewood again too. The fretboard is not radius, and the bridge is a tie bar bridge. Again, if you're doing a beginner ukulele, perhaps a slotted bridge would be a better solution. They're just easier to work with. So just as a thought there. The nut and saddle are black Newbone from Graphtec. And you can see that the saddle is not compensated. The finish is a satin finish, not really a gloss, so that's satin finish. The overall length is 20.875 inches from tip to tail, not counting the strap button, and it weighs 14 ounces, so it's pretty light. It has open geared tuners that are unbranded. They do not say Cala, like some do, although it is a newer ukulele because it does come with a strap button. Cala's been doing that lately. Now, the action. At the first fret, it's just above 0.25 millimeters, and at the 12th fret, it's 1.75 millimeters. So it's not surprising that you've got that buzz when you're playing the second string first fret. It's surprising that more strings aren't buzzing here. And no, the neck is not warped at all. The neck is totally straight. So it is totally an action issue, which is solvable, but shouldn't be solvable for a person that's learning how to play. That is just inexcusable. And that's where this instrument sort of falls in and again, a bad place with me as a beginner instrument that buzzes. Not okay. The nut width is 34.96 millimeters, so almost 35 exactly. The string spacing between strings at the first fret is 8.42 millimeters between each string, which is a total of 27.76 millimeters G to A. That's really narrow too. So Cala also didn't take as much use of the space that they have to make this as roomy as possible on that 35 millimeter nut. So that could be adjusted as well. And the other thing I always check is the depth of the neck. It is a C-shaped neck, but the depth of the neck from the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck at the third fret is 21.25 millimeters, which is pretty thick, especially with the action being so low and you're judging from the top of the strings. All right, now that we've talked about the specifications, let's summarize the instrument. This is one of my students' ukuleles that they brought in, and I brought it here to review for you. I had no input on this ukulele. That often happens as a teacher. Students will go out and buy their own instruments, or family will buy their own instruments, and they won't ask. And they won't even bring them in to say, hey, can you check this over to make sure that everything's good? So the return period is long gone with this instrument. This instrument is targeted at beginners. It's the learn to play soprano. So it's attractive. It looks nice. It sounds okay, but it has that terrible buzz at the second string, first fret, because the action is too low. I am certain that no one has adjusted the action on this instrument. I know that I haven't, and I don't think that the family would have either. It came like this, and that's how it plays. Now, I do applaud Cala for addressing the issue of high action by shipping ukuleles with lower action, but now we're too low, and that can't happen. I also remain cautious and nervous about Cala removing kerfing from the inside of these instruments. Now, there are brands like Koaloha that do not use kerfing. Koaloha has a very different build than a Cala, and also very different price point, and a unibrace as well. So you cannot compare a Cala with a Koaloha. It just isn't going to happen, especially when you talk construction. So that does concern me, especially when models that are just a few more dollars do still include it. So it makes me wonder why a laminate in that next price point would need kerfing, yet the laminate for the entry-level player doesn't. Not sure about that. I'm also not impressed with the quality of the laminate on the sides. Maybe it doesn't make much of a difference. The laminate is clearly better on the top and bottom of this instrument than on the sides, and when you look inside, you do see that. The instrument does include a gig bag, although it's a drawstring bag, which really doesn't offer the protection that you want for a laminate ukulele. They are rugged, but not that rugged. You still would like some kind of padded gig bag for your laminate ukulele. Ultimately, there are better options, I think, at this price point than this instrument, doubly so with the buzz there. And because of that buzz, I cannot recommend this ukulele to you. There's a chance that if you see one of these on the shelf, it may not do that. Very, very possible. So my suggestion to you is if you're going to buy this instrument, that you go up each string when in tune and listen to see if you've got a buzz on any of the strings. You'll hear it. And it gets better after that first fret. And by the way, I have checked with a fret rocker to see if maybe the fret is high there. It's not. The frets are level. They did a nice job with that, but it's just there. And then of course the first string. The other negative about action being too low is that you can also lessen the sound of the instrument. So it's possible that this instrument could have more of a voice too if the strings were where they sort of should be. I know some people like really low action, but in general, if I'm below 2 millimeters of action at the 12th fret, I'm nervous. And that's where this one is definitely living. All right, so that is our look at the Cala Learn to Play Soprano. I want to really thank you for watching this video. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.